Welcome, Trainiacs, to this week's Triathlon Newsday Tuesday. In this week's edition, females get 500 new ways to potentially qualify for the Half Ironman World Championships. A series of races, one of the biggest mountain bike races in the world, says no to Ironman. And while we're talking about Ironman, the Kona course has changed for the first time in years. What's up, triathletes? Welcome to this week's Triathlon Newsday Tuesday, where every single Tuesday we go over the happenings going on over the previous week in the world of triathlon. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video, where everyone's favorite part of the video is back, and that's a story from the Trainiac community. And as always, full links to everything we talk about will be in the description below. That's going to be particularly important this week because there's a lot of details with everything that we're going to talk about that I just can't talk about here because it would be a 30-minute video. Let's start off with the Women for Tri program run from the Ironman Foundation, where they have come up with a new initiative to allow 500 new spots for women to qualify for Ironman 70.3 Worlds in Nice, France in 2019. Now, these spots are going to be allocated over the course of 20 races in between now and middle of August or so next year, and all of the registration fees coming from those 500 qualifying athletes will be going into a pot that goes to the Women for Tri Club grant program, which then goes back to getting more women in the sport. More women in the sport means more women qualifying for Worlds, and you see what it is? It's like a circle. It just keeps going on and on. It's perfect. Good job, Women for Tri. Also happening last week, it was announced that the Breck Epic mountain bike race would not be accepting an offer from Ironman or World Triathlon Corporation to purchase the race. And this is very significant because historically, if you look at most conferences, most races with triathletes, and people have been in the industry for a long time, the people with bucks are the people that have sold a race or family of races to Ironman. It's one of the business models that allows people to become successful financially in this sport, which doesn't tend to have a lot of big money hustlers here. What was announced last week is that Mike McCormick, the runner, organizer of the Breck Epic, just decided that he would not be selling to Ironman because he wants to keep the Breck Epic a local small town race. He held quite a number of panels and open forums in the town, realized that Ironman Corporation, huge company, Breck Epic, small town race held in a small town, and to have, instead of 500 athletes going on these perfectly manicured trails, increasing potentially to 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 athletes, and place that strain on the town, the local areas, and those trails, it wouldn't be in the spirit of that local race feeling that he has fostered over the years. So, gutsy move, but good for you. Now, while we are speaking about Ironman, they have, for the first time in years, changed the course in Ironman Hawaii, the World Championships this coming year. And they did this kind of sneakily. They didn't really make a big announcement about this. Frankly, if you search for it online, there really isn't any details saying that the course has changed. But if you look at the 2017 run course alongside the 2018 run course on the Ironman.com website, what you'll see is that Eliot Drive has been shortened up and that distance has been tacked on to the hardest portion of the race, the Natural Energy Lab, where they're going to spend more time there suffering potentially. Now, I can only speculate that the reason for this is because running down Eliot Drive is more in town. Logistically, there's more to close off, there's more to monitor. Out in the Natural Energy Lab, you're in the middle of nowhere. You are in the lava fields, and I have to imagine that is easier to control and start closing off roads and monitoring. That's my guess. Could be totally wrong, but people are going to suffer. That's totally right. In racing news, the Beijing International Triathlon happened over the weekend, and this was an independent Olympic distance non-drafting race. This wasn't on the ITU circuit or an Ironman distance race. Ashley Gentle from Australia and Johnny Brownlee, the younger brother of Alistair Brownlee, won the race. Now, this race brought in quite a number of athletes from the short course, drafting, the speedsters, in the world, and the people that used to be speedsters, the Ben Knuts, the Eric Lagerstroms, Paula Finleys, but have since stepped up to the half Ironman distance. And unsurprisingly, even though it was a non-drafting race, the speedsters in both the men's and the women's side placed 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and the webpage that I saw, it didn't even list finish times from the half Ironman distance specialists. So was it that much of a kicking? I think anytime that you put short course speed specific athletes up against long course athletes in a speed event, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what's going to happen. In Ironman racing, Ironman 70.3 Weymouth happened in England in brutal conditions. Eliot Smales and India Lee won the men's and the women's races respectively, but the more competitive event that happened over the course of the weekend was half Ironman Augusta, which a lot of the Kona athletes, Matt Hansen, Tim O'Donnell, Mirinda Carfrae, they used as a bit of a fast training day leading into Kona, so it was a very competitive day. Oh, and very interestingly, the power couple of Tim O'Donnell and Mirinda Carfrae from the Tim and Rinny Show, which is done by our buddy Talbot Cox, they went win-win on the men's and the women's side. So congratulations, Tim and Rinny. In podcast land, we just released a podcast on Sunday with Lucy Charles that we did while we were in Port Elizabeth, South Africa. It is blowing up, I think largely because Lucy shared it on her channels. This past week, we recorded a podcast with pro triathlete Cody Beals, who won his first race at the full Ironman distance and talked a lot about being one of the only openly gay male triathletes in the world. Also, this past weekend, we had a Trainiac mini camp with a couple of Trainiacs. I didn't tell them that I'd be calling them in for Newsday here, but come on in, guys.
Hello.
Ben.
Ben.
Hey there.
Dave. And we did a podcast with them as well. Inspiring stuff. Now, let's get into everyone's favorite part of Triathlon Newsday. That's a story from the Trainiac community, and this week's story comes from somebody who says, Taren, my name is Neil Doherty. I did my first ever triathlon over the weekend and chose the Olympic distance. I killed my expected time by about 12 minutes. My goal was to be in the top 50, but I ended up 6th in my age group with a time of 2:40:42. It was a little unique because I also have epilepsy and had a knee surgery a couple years ago. My epilepsy is controlled through medicine, but does have triggers like getting dehydrated or overly hungry. The knee surgery was just a scope for a torn meniscus, and while they're both mild, they are significant enough that most people did not think that a triathlon was a good idea or even possible. I had my doubts too. I succeeded more than I ever thought. In fact, it turns out triathlon training has improved some of the epilepsy side effects like tremors, memory, sleep, and also forced me to change my diet and organizational habits. I plan on doing a couple more triathlons this year, then I want to start training for a 70.3 in 2019. I have a buddy who will do it with me, and I trained for this last race completely by myself. I think it would have been better to be competitive with a buddy or something like that. It is better. Meanwhile, I did have a really supportive cast at home. We all do. I have a wife, a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a chocolate lab. They even wore shirts and hats that they made for my cheering section. I don't want to be overly dramatic, but it could be considered another success story if you want to add it to my resume. Well, I'd love to add it to my resume, but let's face it here. You're the one that did the work. So congratulations to you, and congratulations to the Trainiacs for making it through this brutal weekend of training that I've put them through. That was a lot of fun. If anyone else wants to get their story shared here on Triathlon Newsday, email me at Taren@triathlontaren.com. If you aren't yet subscribed and you like Triathlon Newsday, hit the subscribe button below. And if you are subscribed, you are like Chocolate Lab at the finish line. That's just the best. That's a good dog. That's a very solid dog. Later, Trainiacs.